What about Dumbo? Tell me, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, so Dumbo, I think Dumbo's okay. Dumbo, it's kids. It's ultimately it's a kids movie, and what I mean by that is its messaging, its storytelling is not subtle at all. It's very straightforward, on the nose, all that. So, as an adult, it's tough to really glean too much from Dumbo, besides just what it is on the surface. And critics, and this movie is underperforming the box office, only 45 million. That's really the worst of the big Disney reimaginings of classic animated movies, and the critics are pretty down on it. And I think kind of brings up the cynical point a lot of people bring up. It's like, why do these movies exist in the first place? And ultimately, I think we mentioned at the end of the past few pods, it's like Dumbo came out in, was it 1941? Mm-hmm. Literally the fourth Disney animated movie ever. Dumbo itself is only an hour and change long. Dumbo doesn't even talk. Does Dumbo have a lot of hardcore fans? So we need a remake, a reimagining of Dumbo? And the answer was no. I don't think we needed this. And rather, it was made by Tim Burton, but Tim Burton doesn't really bring anything to the table these days. It's disappointing. I mean, it's truly a reimagining. There's all these new characters, there's all this new plot. Most Dumbo looks really sweet, and I think everything in the original Dumbo film that they keep is front loaded at the beginning of this new one, and it changes, and a lot of human characters, but they're really archetypes. You understand exactly what they're doing, and they don't really bring much to the table. Like Michael Keaton, looks like he's having a fun time, but he's clearly obviously the bad guy.
Yeah,
and Danny DeVito is having a great time as Medici, the leader of the circus, but he only can do so much because all these characters are really one note. The plot is largely driven by Colin Farrell, this World War I veteran, and his two kids, little young kids, and the kids, again, they're not subtle at all. So the fact that they're driving the plot, when if you took them out of the story, they probably wouldn't have mattered at all. I think says how thin the story was, but I mean the Dumbo CGI was good, and Dumbo flying scenes were cool. But yeah, it just doesn't elevate the Dumbo story enough, and I guess a Dumbo reimagining probably never could do that. So I don't know if it's tough to really ask much of it. I mean, the pink elephant scene that's famous in the original one, that comes back in a cool way. I like that; it looked cool. But ultimately, the message is about not selling out to the corporate overlord who's Keaton. Which is just really rich because the movie's coming from Disney, who is taking over the film industry. So it's really hard to get down with that message, even if you tell it really simply. So yeah, I think it's okay. And ultimately, even if this loses some money for Disney, it's not going to matter at all because they have Aladdin, The Lion King, Maleficent 2, and Mulan coming out in the next year. And start from Maleficent, those other three are Disney Renaissance remakes from 89 to 99. The most nostalgic period of Disney animation for people these days. So ultimately, I think the movie, the takeaway is what it was when it got announced. Don't think we really needed this one.
Yeah, and the more and more I think about why they're putting these all together, it seems pretty obvious they just want to get these live action films out and have people see them before they release their streaming service, so that if somehow you haven't watched Disney films or you needed another reason, they'll be on there, and that'll probably be the only place you can see those. So, gonna be pretty interesting just how these kind of play into the streaming war, especially with the way it's going. I mean, Aladdin, the second trailer looked a lot better. I thought I saw it before Beach Bum, and I was a lot more excited after seeing that. Just a side note. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on the big screen, that trailer, I could not be more excited to see that movie. But and Lion King, I think is going to be can't miss, just with that voice cast and what we have seen of the animation so far looks incredible. So definitely going to be interesting to see as I wrap up the year. And I think it's time to wrap up the show. Any closing thoughts for the people, Dave?
So the other unannounced Disney remake of sorts is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which just got first mentioned back in January. Josh Gad perhaps involved. And that's a Disney Renaissance era film. But I'm wondering how that one will do, because that one doesn't seem as popular as obviously Aladdin or Lion King, right? So I'm curious to see if they really go forward making that one, because again, it's not dated or anything yet, and Mulan comes out early next year, and then there'll be nothing left on the calendar of this type of remake of sorts. So I was actually going to ask you, what of the remaining Disney Renaissance films would you most want to see reimagined? Yes, we know we don't need these, but if they were to make one, which they probably will, which one would you want? The options obviously are Tarzan, Little Mermaid, Hercules, Pocahontas, and also The Rescuers Down Under, which is probably your pick.
Oh man, I feel like Pocahontas is problematic at this point to remake. I think I like lean probably Little Mermaid, especially with everything we've seen with like underwater and under the
That's
sea.
my pick too.
Yeah, that'd probably my pick, and then Tarzan be number two. The only thing is like Tarzan, that soundtrack. It's like you just kind of roll that back. You can get someone else to do it. Get Phil Collins to reimagine it. I don't know. Just I feel like the soundtrack is integral to that.
Plus, they had that Tarzan live action with Skarsgård, and if I remember right, that wasn't actually Disney. That didn't do well. That was Warner Brothers. Same way Snow White and the Huntsman was actually Universal. So maybe because Tarzan is not strictly Disney IP, they wouldn't be as invested in it. Yeah, I think Little Mermaid's kind of the obvious choice. But then I was thinking like Hercules. I know Hercules is kind of popular, but I think Hercules is kind of like the low end of this era. Like I think it's good, amusing, but it's not like amazing. So maybe they could redo Hercules and make it amazing. But then again, there's been a lot of Hercules stuff apart from Disney, so maybe they don't care as much. I don't know. Be interesting.
I'm trying to think of a redheaded younger actress who could play Ariel. I mean, my first thought was Isla Fisher, but she's a little too old to play, I think, Ariel.
Right. Oh, I just rememdered. They're also doing the Cruella de Vil with Emma Stone. Forgot about that one. Technically, 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close is the first of these reeks, but back in
Interesting.
So interesting.